You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 220, and my name is Clark from 5cardguys.com and 5cardguys on Instagram. Co-hosting with me as usual is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards. Johnny's away for the next couple of weeks, but he should be back with us for our July episodes. Okay, off the top, just want to spend a few minutes to give tribute to Willie Mays, who passed away earlier this week at the age of 93. And at the end, we'll talk about some of his key baseball cards since this is a sports card podcast. But yeah, by all accounts, from past and current MLB players, I've been reading the tweets and Facebook messages and all the tribute messages that are coming from social media. He was a great player and even better person, both on and off the field. And even though he was before our time, if you're a baseball fan, you've heard of Willie Mays, right? So Hyung, being a baseball fan, what are you going to remember about the San Francisco Giants legend?
Man, I'm telling you, Willie Mays is in a different category, and I think he is one of the most underrated players to have ever existed. Even though there's a lot of attention, the card market kind of shows that. Yeah. That I think just kind of comparing it a little bit to like Mickey Mantle and other comparisons, it's like, man, I would categorize Willie Mays as one of the greatest of all time. Like, there's no kind of rebuttal other than guys like Barry Bonds, Babe Ruth. I would categorize Hank Aaron. Like, probably there's not many other actual GOATs, I would say. And obviously I'm missing a few names, but overall, yeah, I would categorize him as like A++ asset class, in terms of the sports card market. Yeah.
It's definitely a short list that he's on. Just to kind of give you some context in terms of his career numbers and stats, 660 home runs, career home runs. He was a member of the 3,000 hit club. He's won a batting title, 4 home run titles, and 4 stolen base titles. Some people forget the speed that he had as well. He ranks among the all-time leaders in WAR, wins above replacement. Top 5, I think I checked, his number's 156.2, which is anything over 100 is crazy. 156.2 is insane. And perhaps most impressively, his numbers would have been even better if he didn't spend 2 years serving in the military right before when his career was starting. And of course, defensively, the catch. Yeah. If I just say the catch, you know what I'm talking about, the over the head in center field. So a lot of those things, we'll remember about Willie Mays. And even after his career was done, he was a big part of the Giants organization, right? As a for sure, advisor.
Yes, advisor. I know he means a lot to Barry Bonds too. So, yes. I mean, they're almost identical players. It's crazy at how like spitting image like Barry Bonds was of kind of like Willie Mays. I would say nobody has like come close to kind of what Willie Mays has done. Barry Bonds is that person. So I know he meant a lot to Barry. So.
Yep, for sure. Actually, Willie was his godfather, right? So there's that special personal connection as well. I'll bring him back to cards. If you look at his 1951 rookie card, the highest value it sold for at one point was in March 2021 for $338,400. It was a PSA 8. And of course, when we're talking about vintage cards, condition is everything. But that was sold back in 2021. And, there's the 1952 card that people like. It's kind
Topps,
of... Yeah. Topps 1952.
That was the first Topps card, yeah. That was the Mantle set, so it makes it kind of popular, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's funny how you can compare almost Mickey Mantle to Willie Mays when it comes to these sports cards.
The 51 Bowman was the same thing, and 51 Mantle Bowman is the underrated card we're talking about, right? But
that's right. Yeah, horizontal versus vertical as well. But the 1952 Topps iconic card sold in April of 2023, PSA 8 for $175,100.
That was sorry, the 1952 Topps of Willie Mays.
Right. That's right. Yeah, 1952 Topps. Right. Yeah. So yeah, big bucks for his high grade rookie cards.
The crazy thing though, I think it's undervalued, to be honest. Yeah, like just comparing, like I just see the 51 Bowman, for instance. I think, well, one, I don't think the 52 Topps Mays is as attractive as the 51 Bowman Mays, for me at least, because Mickey Mantle kind of stole the show in 52 Topps. There's a story behind it. He was kind of like the poster child at the time. So it was kind of like the chase. But I think, one, we all agree that the 51 Bowman Mantle is underrated, right? So I see it the same way, as I think the 51 Bowman of Willie Mays is super underrated, but I think the 52 Topps as well, based on, Mickey Mantle's pricing, I think they're both super undervalued, but the 51 Bowman is, I think, what you want of Willie Mays.
I agree completely. And if you're comparing to the 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle, it sold February of the same year that the Willie Mays sold for $338,000. The 1951 Mickey Mantle PSA 8, same grade, sold in February of 2021 for $615,000.
Right.
So 40% more. So that's your comp there if you're comparing two legendary players. But there you have it. Rest in peace, Willie Mays. And he'll definitely be remembered by all baseball fans. All right, let's move on to hobby headlines. So I started to binge watch King of Collectibles, the Goldin Touch Season 2 this week, which is out now on Netflix. And if you've never heard of it, it follows Ken Goldin, who is the CEO of Goldin Auctions. And they were recently bought out by eBay, as we discussed previously on this pod. But Goldin and his team, they look for all kinds of high-end memorabilia, including sports cards, of course, to auction off through their online auction website. And when we discussed season 1 last year, if you remember, Hyung, we mentioned how this is great for the hobby because it brings more attention to the hobby through entertainment to those who might know very little about the world of collectibles, the world of sports cards, right? So here we are now for season 2. Just want to get your initial thoughts, Hyung, about what this show you think could do for the hobby. You think it's more or less the same since season 1? Or does the fact that it got picked up for a second season mean the hobby is still growing, it's still popular? Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, no, you know what I think about it. I think everything is marketing, and it's all done intentionally. So, think how many eyes are on this, right? And you're talking about a generic crowd, and this is probably going to be true. The true hobbyist is going to scoff probably because because they're going to focus on the potential investment money, how these super high end collectibles. But I think that's what drives the market. So it's expected that stuff like that, even for me, I would be interested in stuff like that at the end of the day, because these are Picassos that we're talking about, right? And it seems like they're marketing the whole sports memorabilia, not only sports cards. So it's more kind of fanatics in general, just the marketplace. Right. So for me, it's a genius marketing move. If I had the money to produce that, that's nothing. That costs nothing compared to the amount of eyes they're getting on kind of like the brand. So from a marketing standpoint, it makes 1,000% sense that they would be pushing this, because they're controlling the narrative at the end of the day. And it's a marketplace that, other people that are still coming into that don't know about this. So where else are they going to get? They're going to go to blowout forums or, get the information there. Like that's what a lot of our hobbyists, that's how they come into the I guess, the last 4 years, but this is a way more effective way to kind of bring masses on board and give the credibility to Fanatics, who's basically controlling this whole process at the end of the day, just in terms of getting the amount of eyes on the hobby, or whoever is, marketing, like Goldin, for instance. It's a huge amount of eyes on Goldin in general, right? And Ken Goldin. Yeah. So yeah, it's a crazy marketing piece that, makes sense to me. But yeah, in terms of me watching it, I'm not necessarily like glued to Netflix in general, but yeah, I appreciate the content. It gives context of, what drives the market and what they're trying to push.
Yeah, for sure. And what's proof of that is, I was watching on the couch and my wife's sitting doing work, and then occasionally I'll see her like watching it too, just because of the crazy items that are, going up for auction. And it's one of those things where, for people who aren't as familiar as us with sports cards or collectibles in general, is the number is eye-popping sometimes. It's like, what? That sold for how much? Or you know what I mean? So it's gives a little more credibility to the whole marketplace of collectibles, and so I love seeing that. But something I've noticed, even I'm about halfway through season 2, but the production value seems much better in season 2. So it seems like season 1's like, okay, we'll just put a bit of money into it in terms of the budget, and I guess it did well enough for them to say, okay, let's ramp it up a little bit. Yeah. And so production value seems much better in season 2. I think Ken Goldin said this in another interview, but the main cast of characters, which is essentially the employees of Goldin Auctions, they do definitely seem more comfortable in front of the camera. So, we kind of knocked them jokingly in season 1, where it's like, oh, everyone's a bit stiff.
Yeah. Right? And people don't understand, when you're in front of the camera, it sucks. And some people love it, but 98% of people, it's uncomfortable. Even for me to this day, like I cringe when I have to go on camera, but you got to do it, right? You got to just be comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, you would know, you've done a video podcast this past year.
On the spot too. It's just like, yeah, you gotta perform.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. To the audience, the camera's invisible, but then when you're recording, it's like this big camera in front of your face. Yeah, and it's hard to ignore sometimes until you get used to it, really. Right. And that goes to the point I was mentioning. It's the cast. A lot of them, it seems they've gotten used to cameramen following them around. Yeah, and they're just talking business or talking shop, more so for season 2. So that was good to see. Another thing I've noticed, a lot of cameos this season, which is smart from a marketing standpoint. You want to bring the stars in. Ronald Acuna Jr., before the injury, of course, but he was brought into Goldin headquarters. So that was kind of cool seeing Acuna, look at his Venezuela jerseys that he signed and is beginning to auction off. Joe Montana, of course, the Niners legend. And, we just talked about Barry Bonds off the top. So Barry Bonds and Reggie Jackson are pretty prominent in this season. And it's a good tie into Goldin's, because if you go on the Goldin website, they have the Reggie Jackson collection and the Barry Bonds collection all up for auction. I'm sure it was done purposely. The auction's live till July 13th, I believe. So, just cross-promoting the show and the auctions that are live right now. But yeah, kind of cool to see celebrities or athletes on the show, right? And you can see that bringing in people that are just fans of Barry Bonds or Reggie Jackson.
For sure. And it's the perfect marketing piece, right? So if you're a Barry Bonds fan and you're basically watching this because of Barry Bonds, you're going to know that there's a huge auction going on, right? So it's like, to me, makes total sense. It's exactly how you want to market whatever you're selling. And yeah, and it's at the end of the day, it's good. It's like, it just good to see the credibility that they have with all these MLB players. And you got to remember, these older guys are at a vulnerable state in terms of being relevant still. Right. And to them, yeah, this makes them more relevant if they're in front of a TV like Barry Bonds. Like, I'm telling you, this guy is greatness, period. I don't care what anybody says. It's like, you don't understand what he's done to the game and the numbers he's put up. There's no doubt that he is the greatest of all time. And to me, it's like having that around. He's not going to be around. Like, we've lived in through that era, and people aren't going to realize like how valuable these little things are, and you know, the respect that he personally deserves. And yeah, like having the cameos on are huge, even for everybody. I think for a fan, you're appreciative. From a business standpoint, you're appreciative. Maybe from a hobbyist, you cringe a bit, but you know, that's all emotional anyways, right? So It's all perspective. And at the end of the day, if you look at it more of an objective perspective of what everybody's trying to accomplish, I think you could enjoy it a little more instead of being so emotionally tied into seeing what's right or what's wrong. So yeah, like I'm big on all of this. I'm bullish on all of this.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Barry Bonds. I'm just on a side note. Okay, this makes him a little bit more personable. You know, he has a bad rap with media. You could kind of see it come through a little bit, or you know, I would think it would be a little bit awkward if I really met Barry Bonds to talk to him, because he does seem a little bit standoffish. But it's I didn't know this about Barry Bonds, but him and Ken Goldin have been friends for almost 30 years. So obviously that helps, you know, in terms of talking with Barry. Ken Goldin has that relationship already, but yeah, you know, I'm just saying, and not everyone has to agree. It can make a case for him to be in the Hall of Fame one day. You know, this only helps him. This only helps Barry.
I'm all for him in the Hall, to be honest, because it's like, we won't bring it up again, but there's like, then you're dealing with triple standards everywhere, and it's just like, okay, what about Houston Astros? Do you take away the World Series win? Like, what are we doing here? Like, we need to think this through and look at it from an objective standpoint. And the Hall of Fame, honestly, I know you're a journalist, but should not be determined by journalists. They should be determined by peers, you know, evaluated by professional scouts and peers that actually played the game, right? And to me, that's an exclusive group. It shouldn't be, at the end of the day, decided by, you know, somebody else's fate that really don't have the context of how good someone was to the game, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that, or at least invite more people to the table, the voting process.
100%. I wouldn't say that there's no value, because a third party would be necessary to evaluate as well. So it'd be kind of somewhere in between that, I would say. Yep.
Yeah. If you're a risk taker, maybe you want to pick up a Topps Traded Tiffany rookie card of Barry Bonds.
Absolutely. I know for me, it's in my play always. Like, Barry Bonds is something, I want some super, super rare collectible for Barry Bonds. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. A couple more things before we move on. I like there's a segment where they brought in the kid that caught Jason Dominguez's first home run ball at Yankee Stadium. Ended up selling with the buyer's premium over $10K. So, and it was kind of really cool to see, or at least interesting to see the process. Like, when he caught it, he was sharing his story about like how he was getting offers for $2,000-$3,000. And then of course, he made the wise decision to hold it, and then, you know, to auction it off at the end to get 3-4x the amount. But, you know, I think this also opens your eyes as a sports fan, right? Like, you know, you go out to the baseball game, maybe when you, are in the home run section and Shohei hits a ball, maybe you think twice about just giving it right to the Dodgers staff. You know, maybe you keep it. You're like, you know, maybe I'll reach out to Ken Goldin and see what they can do with this ball, right?
And that's all it takes, right? In this marketplace. And it's a scary thing if you really think about it objectively is you know, it's worth whatever one person's willing to pay for it.
Exactly.
So, and that's scary because it could be easily, not necessarily manipulated, but like, for instance, what stops the big dogs from wanting all those because they're putting in card sets now, or they're putting it in something. So it's like they've created this supply demand because anybody who retrieves it knows that there's value to it, right? In terms of a memorabilia piece, right? So that's the way you create value, right away. So I think it's a slippery slope at the end of the day, and you got to be able to see what holds value and what doesn't, because yeah, something like Dominguez's home run ball, that could be massive one day. Yeah. Right? $10,000 could be a steal one day. And obviously he has to pan out in his career and what they project him to be. So it's like, that's the hard work. But there's some times where it's just like a MLB debut patch of a 101 that's of an irrelevant player.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's probably not worth that much money, right? So it's like being able to navigate and see what it's actually worth. But yeah, I agree. Like going back to Dominguez's home run ball, I think more and more of that stuff is going to be valuable, and collectible space has huge legs to it in the next 10 years.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it all comes down to educating the fans about this crazy world that we talk about week after week on this podcast. So tip, if Aaron Judge hits a ball, probably keep it. He's on a historic pace. Shohei, same thing. I don't know if you saw, he just hit a 476-foot home run in Colorado. Whoever has that ball might want to keep that or auction it off. Last thing, I love seeing like the super high-end deals in the background. And this is what's great about these Netflix shows, right? It's like shows behind the scenes that you would never have seen. And the one I'm thinking in particular is about the Honus Wagner SGC5, the T206 that was recently graded, and that's going to go 8 figures probably.
Crazy.
And yeah, just kind of like seeing who has it. You know, in the world that they live in is just foreign to so many people. But that's what makes it interesting. I
think people are going to extrapolate that too, and this is why I believe in the marketplace so much, because it's like, if you're living through this, that you're witnessing, man, I wish I purchased that 52 Mantle or 52 Mays or 51 Mays, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, you're starting to think that move now. Like everybody's thinking that. What's the next one? Why is this valuable? Why can it be the same with LeBron James? Can it be the same with Steph Curry? This is the thought process now of everybody, right? And then it filters all the way through. So to me, if you future down the road 20, 30 years, which cards are going to be those next Picasso pieces, I guess. And that's what it's setting us up for, I think, right? And I think that's why, because of all these digital marketing strategies that you're seeing, that you're just seeing sports cards everywhere, where we trade on Facebook, on eBay. This is all done through technology and the internet, right? So for me, as that technology increases, we have zero clue at how the hobby is going to look in like 5 years, because it will look totally, totally different than what we see it as right now. And we're seeing the changes being implemented day by day right now. So it's pretty cool if you look at it in that context, to see the hobby as a whole in a macro kind of economics perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, you know what? As you were talking, I can't help but think it's all about education. Like when we collected as kids, we didn't know what was going on with the market. We were probably getting ripped off left, right, and center from the card stores. Now we're just savvy, and more people are getting savvy about, the value of things, especially value of collectibles and sports cards.
Yeah. And you look at like why the 52 Topps Mantle was so important to me, because when I was like in 8 years old, when I was collecting, I would look at the Beckett and I would look for the most expensive card.
Right.
And that was the most expensive card in Beckett. And it was like maybe 5,200, and to me, it's like that as a kid was such a big reason why. And I look back and I'm like, damn, if I had $5,000, back in the day, and you purchased one of those, you'd be thought insane, right? And you look at the market now, and it's just crazy at that I lived through that, was being able to see that whole process of, wow, that Mickey Mantle card ended up becoming the Picasso of sports card, right? Which is crazy.
And I'll end off with this story that Ken Goldin shared. I don't know if it was on the show or if it was in a different interview, but to your point, he was talking about the one, he was just recently talking about the MJ Logo Man card that sold. We talked about it before on the pod for almost $3 million. And he said the story behind that was the guy who came to Goldin to auction it off, ripped it open for like a $500 box back in 2003. Wow. And he sat on it for 2 decades. And there you go. There's your healthy return. $500 to
Amazing.
$3 million, right? And you just got to sit on it for 20 years, and then for a significant card like that, it's crazy.
So moral of the story is don't paper hand a very, very, very rare card. Believe in the market that in 20 years, right, it can be life-changing. Just like when we were kids, we thought the same thing. It was going to change our life.
Yeah, exactly. All right. If you haven't watched season 1, probably a good starting point there, but season 2 is out now. I promise we're not getting paid by Goldin or Netflix, but definitely entertaining series for sure. All right, let's move on to our next segment. We're calling Match Game. Okay, we haven't done this in a while, but essentially what this game is I'm going to give you, Hyung, a list of players in one column, and then you have to match it with the numbers in the second column, and those numbers are how much the most expensive card sold for the players in the first column. Okay, so you'll get what I mean more when I start naming the names. But in today's match game, there's a theme. The list of players from the first column are all NBA Finals MVPs.
Oh, man.
Okay? From the last 5-6 years. And of course, the timing is good because Boston Celtics, I was rooting hard for the Mavs, but the Celtics were just a better team.
Crazy, yeah.
And surprisingly to some, Jaylen Brown was named the MVP, not Jason Tatum. That could be another episode altogether, Do people like Jason Tatum and whether that hampers his card values? But anyway, we'll talk about Jaylen Brown because he did win NBA Finals MVP this year, 2024. And the rest of the list is 2023, Nikola Jokic won with the Nuggets. 2022, Stephen Curry. 2021, Giannis Antetokounmpo. 2020, LeBron James, the bubble season.
Right.
And then a bonus, 2019, I couldn't leave him, That's when our Toronto Raptors won the NBA championships, and the MVP that year was Kawhi Leonard. Okay, so those are the names: Jaylen Brown, Nikola Jokic, Stephen Curry, Giannis, LeBron, and Kawhi. Second column, I'm going to list the dollar amounts of the most expensive cards sold for each of those players, and you just got to match them up, okay?
Okay. Do I get to know the numbers, or it's just one by one?
I'm going to share a screen with you if I can, so it'll be easier for you to do.
Wow, these are big amounts.
Big amounts. So I listened from least to the greatest. Some of them should be easy for you because, especially the greatest one. But the numbers in column B are $60,000, $181,200, $205,000, and then the last three were over the $1 million threshold: $1.08 million, then $1.812 million. And the biggest number of that list, $5.2 million. All right. So which of these card values are you going to match with the first list? There are 6.
I thought the 5.2.
Yep.
Let's start with that. It has to be LeBron or Steph, but my gut is telling me LeBron, but I don't know if there was a recent Steph transaction. I thought Steph sold for higher than the 1.8, but I could be wrong.
You know what? This it was a quick filter on Card Ladder, so maybe.
Okay.
You're right, but I guess I should give that caveat. But I'll say this: the first one you got right. Okay. Your gut instinct. The 5.2 million is the LeBron 2003-04 Upper Deck Exquisite Gold Rookie Parallel number to 23, BGS 9.
Yeah. And then I'm going to go The 1.8 at... The 1.8 sounds familiar with Giannis, but I think Steph Curry has had a card more expensive, but I think this list, 1.8 with Giannis sounds like it's Giannis. Because and I think Steph had, I would say, a card in the 3 million. So I'll put Steph at that. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong on Steph. I thought it was close to LeBron. Okay.
Yeah, I'll double check, but with the numbers I did give you, you're absolutely correct. The Giannis is the 1.8 million.
Okay, I remember that sale.
It's the NBA logo man 1 of 1.
That was at peak, right?
That was at peak, yeah. and the Steph Curry is the $1.08 million.
Okay.
The National Treasures rookie patch auto number to 5. Right. Okay, so you got the most expensive, the top 3. Now you got to get the 60,000,
this is
the 181,000, and the 205,000.
Oh man, I don't remember Jaylen Brown having necessarily a hype. I remember he had a little push, but he was always overshadowed by Tatum. So I wanna say 60,000 is Jaylen Brown.
You got it. To the 2016 National Treasures rookie patch auto logo man of Jaylen Brown. 1 of 1 sold for 60,000.
Yeah, and then we have 181,200 and 205,000 between Jokic and Kawhi, right?
That's right.
I'm gonna say Kawhi at 181,200, and then Jokic at 205. Yeah.
Wow, 6 out of 6.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, Jokic was the immaculate logo man 1 of 1 that sold for 205,000, and the Kawhi was the National Treasures gold RPA number to 5 BGS 95 for 181K.
I didn't think I was gonna do well, but I think process of elimination I think is key. It's just remembering when.
Did you do well in Did you do well in multiple choice exams back in school?
You know what? I was good enough. I was good enough. I was good enough. And this is why. Is because it was the process of elimination. So I'm just playing the odds, right?
Yeah. That's hilarious. All right, bonus question. 60,000 is the lowest for an NBA Finals MVP, Jaylen Brown, until you had to go all the way back to, I believe, like 10 years or so. You know which NBA Finals MVP sold lower than 60K?
Do you have a list of, or do I not get that? Last 10 years?
Too obvious. Okay. It'd be too obvious if I just said.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have a clue as to who would be in the last 10 years. But I'm sure.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's obvious.
Andre Iguodala.
Okay.
The Warriors won. Everyone was just surprised that he won MVP.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
The studs. Yeah.
He had a good series, though.
He did have a good series. But, you know, it's always even right now, it's always a debate on how NBA final MVPs get chosen. You know, so
it's by the spread.
Right. Vegas controls everything. Yeah. Okay, well, you and John always complain that, you know, you guys never do well, but I think that's your first perfect.
It is my first perfect score. And I think it was a little easy because I knew that Steph, that's the thing. I knew Steph and LeBron were 1 and 2. So for me, the 1.8, I knew that Giannis had at the peak because I remember that 1.8 number saying, wow, somebody really overpaid for this. Right. And then, I mean, maybe it's overpaid at the time, and then underpaid in the future. But yeah, at the time I was just like, wow, 1.8 is a very strong sale.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's finish off our show now with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. And this is when we both choose 2 cards and we debate which one we would rather invest in. So Hyung, do you want to start things off? Sure.
I'm going to stick with the topic of, the Willie Mays tribute because I think Willie Mays is a great buy. I think, now that, more eyes are on him, I think they're going to realize how special he was. So I'm going to actually pair the PSA 9 Bowman. Okay. And remember, there hasn't been a sale for like years on this. So PSA has a valuation of $800K on the PSA 9 Bowman, which I think it's a little undervalued. I think with these next auctions, if someone does sell, I think it's going to sell in the millions, to be honest. Okay. But the pop is fairly low. The pop count is 8 on the Willie Mays 1951 Bowman.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm going to pair that up with the 1952 Mickey Mantle, a PSA 8. Okay. So at the peak, that Mantle sold for $2 million. Mm-hmm. The last sold in February of 2022 was at 1.5.
Ooh,
so remember, the PSA 9 sold for like 5 or whatever. Yeah. And now the PSA 8, I'm valuing it in between 1 to 1.5 million, I would say.
For the Mickey Mantle.
For the Mickey Mantle, PSA 8.
Yeah.
And then versus the 1951 Bowman, that PSA has valued at 800K, but I'm saying that 1951 Bowman PSA 9, highest graded, would be 1 to 1.5 million. So I'd consider it the same value.
So the first one's the Bowman of Willie Mays.
Bowman of Willie Mays, PSA 9, highest graded for 1 to 1.5 million versus a 52 Mantle PSA 8, which has a population of maybe 32.
Mm-hmm.
And it sold for at peak 2 million. Last sold was 1.5, but I would value now at around 1.5, I would say. Between 1.2 and 1.5.
Okay. Sorry, one more time. The population count for the PSA 9 Willie Mays?
Is 8.
Willie Mays. I'm learning my lessons from Brent, deep value investor. When it comes to vintage cards especially, the grade matters much more, right? Because that's how you really determine scarcity in a lot of ways.
Right.
Versus the modern cards with a million parallels. So, and plus the whole debate of what's true rookie card. I lean more towards the 1951 Bowman for both Mantle and Willie Mays. So those are two big kind of factors for me. And PSA 9, that's incredible for a vintage card.
Crazy.
Man, that is incredible. So if you're giving me the valuation of 1 to 1.5 for that, as crazy as it may sound, I think it can just go up from there over time. I agree. Yeah, so Willie Mays for me.
Yeah, nice. No, I like that you brought up that point of vintage and why grading is important at the end of the day, right? Right. People who say grading shouldn't exist is insane, right? Like there's an extreme value in grading, especially in the vintage market. And like I said, these are new asset classes. Like we're not talking about the hobby anymore. This is not a hobby to collect. These are, you're making like crazy investments in art that are highly demanded and highly scarce, right? So for me, like I think that 51 Bowman is so undervalued for what I see with the current marketplace in vintage and the potential this all has in the sporting card world. I think the 51 Bowman PSA 9 population 8 is the way to go. But at the same time, 52 Mantle, that card is the iconic card that kind of set the standard, right? So I could see both arguments of why that Mickey Mantle becomes really rare. And I would say it's more rare, I think. The Mickey Mantle might be more rare or at least the same as the 51 Bowman. So if I say the 52 Tops has a print run, 52 Tops of Willie Mays, that is, has a print run of 2,500, I would say the Mickey Mantle would have a print run, the tops, of 1,500 to 1,700. I might be wrong, but that's kind of like the level of scarcity. And then the 51 Bowman, Mantle and Mays would be at like that 1,500 to 2,000.
Right.
So the rare card actually, I think, is the 52 Mantle because of that story of the boat. It probably, lost that remaining 500 or 1,000 on the print run that was on that boat that drowned. But yeah, that's something interesting to note because the mantle would be a little more scarce in terms of print run or whatever's available.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
But
So
yeah,
I changed my mind.
I'm still picking the Mays as you are because I think there's extreme value in that.
Yeah. No, I was just kidding when I said I changed my mind. So I'm sticking with Willie Mays still in this pick one. All right, that's a good one. I like that. Okay, mine. I'm going to bring it a little bit to the modern era, and I kind of alluded to this at the earlier in the show. But the hate for Jason Tatum is unreal sometimes, right? And you know what? I could kind of understand it. I don't know if you've seen any of the memes or all the social media posts where, you know, his post-game interviews after winning the championship, it looks like he's just stealing lines from, you know, previous athletes. So, you know, for example, when he shouted, "We did it!" You know, that's a homage. You could be nice and you could say that's a homage to Kevin Garnett, you know, shouting after he won as a Celtic. You know, when he said, what are they going to say? That's Stephen Curry. He said that in 2022. So the joke is like, can Jason Tatum think of his own moments instead of stealing from previous NBA stars?
He is young, so you got to give him that, right? He's learning.
He's young, and you know all the poses. He did the Kobe pose. He did the MJ pose with the trophy. You know, he's got to think of his own pose. Come on, Tatum. This is your, you know, this is your spotlight. Anyway, I say all this because I look at some of his cards. Just won an NBA championship. Arguably the best player on the Celtics still, even though Jaylen Brown won. And remember the green prism I used to have, BGS 9.5? Mm-hmm. I actually sold it for about $1,400-$1,500. So I actually made a few bucks off it during this like time where everything's gone down. So I'm pretty happy with that. But the PSA 10 version of it sold recently for $1,800, right? So it's still down.
Still down.
Highs.
That's crazy.
And it's a green color match prism card for PSA 10. I had the BGS 9.5. So that's $1,800. I'm going to pair that with, and this is kind of proving a point. I want to see where the hate is, okay? For you personally, for this pick one. Would you want that 1,800 green prism of Tatum or the 2018 National Treasures RPA number to 99 of Jaren Jackson for $2,000?
Jaren Jackson. Whoa. What?
No disrespect to Jaren Jackson, but I'm just making a point here.
Yeah. Oh, man. So the green prism, PSA 10?
Yes.
Versus the NT out of 99?
Yep, for Jaren Jackson.
Man.
And it's probably even lower, to tell you the truth. I just looked at it. It sold a couple years ago. But yeah, we'll say $1,500 to $2,000 for both those cards.
Oh, man, this is tough. I think part of me wants to go the NT route just because like NT is where it's at. Like that's where the money's at. So, but I don't know if I believe in Jaren Jackson the way, you know, I need to make that decision because the green prism, although it's not that rare, it's a highly demanded Tatum card. And Tatum is, you know, I think he's on a different level than Jaren Jackson. So like, it's tough because if you want to make the gamble and you believe in Jaren Jackson, I think the right move is the NT. But for me, I'm going to go with the green prism just because it's a lot more liquid. I think it's undervalued. If you're telling me that the price is still going down after a championship, I think there's true value that's kind of running into it. So the inflated hype doesn't really come into play. I think the fact that he didn't win playoff MVP or finals MVP hurts his market a bit. So I'm going to go green prism. I think that's still undervalued. Wow, okay. But yeah, I just don't believe that NT is going to be necessarily worth more in that short period of time.
Yeah. For a second, I thought you were going to just...
You had me at NT. No, because if Jaren Jackson does blow up, though, that NT but he's on Memphis, right? So it's like until they can make that move, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tough.
He's on Memphis, and that's Jamarant's team, right? Still, so
he's gonna be shadowed
for sure. I mean, for me, it's easy. It's gonna be Jason Tatum. I think the hate's gone too far, and the Celtics are gonna be competitive for the next few years. Back to back's not it's a real possibility, right? For this team, they're so strong, and Tatum's gonna hopefully use this as motivation or fuel to play even better. He's widely considered top 10 by
sure.
Pundits,
he's still young.
right?
He's 25 years old. Like he has
forget that.
And how much of a career he already has in the early stages. He's like the Soto almost of basketball, right?
Yep. Just gotta maybe improve his 3-point shot, but he's like you said, he's still young, still learning, still can improve, which is crazy, right? For a guy like Tatum, he's a superstar. All right, so it's a Tatum sweep. Usually for pick ones, I like to try to make a point with something, but I think we both made the right choice. All right, that's our show for today. We appreciate you guys, and we'll have a brand new Friday episode for you in a few days. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.